Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Artsume Shae if you didn't know already. Alright, so welcome back to another video. Welcome back to me being in front of the camera. Just to let everybody know, I have been existing and it's been a minute since I've posted a stream or even posted a video, so I thought that it would be the best time now to just get in front of the camera and hang out with you guys. So this is a different video, definitely a little more relaxed and off script. I wanted to take the time to just have a chat, and to facilitate me with that chat are actually going to be some of the questions from the Q&A messages that you guys have all sent me. Of course, that is to celebrate the 500 subscriber count. That is kind of wild. I wasn't really thinking that I was going to hit that milestone so soon. Not because I didn't think it was possible, really, just because, I don't know, I felt like I had more time to accomplish that. So I guess I have to come up with another goal to try and hit before the year is up. If you are new here, hi, hello, I am Artsume Shae. I am a digital artist, content creator, and right now I am a comic creator of my webcomic Space Ultima, which, based off of the questions, there are going to be some little tidbits I talk about in there. But if you are interested in some of my videos and what I have to offer so far, as you're watching this video, definitely consider liking the video and subscribing if you see more that you are interested in. We are coming up on that kind of spring, summertime, kind of that convention season. So if you are interested, I like to vlog my experiences at conventions. I have some past cons that I have gone to that I've vlogged those experiences, and I will be vlogging my upcoming experiences at some events soon to come, so definitely keep an eye out on those. I'm really excited and I'm really happy that there are other people on the internet who, you know, enjoy the things that I enjoy, who like the things that I like, and who are just entertained and interested in what I have to offer and what I have to put out there. So I wanted to extend to everyone else the ability to ask me some questions if there was any interest, so I was going to go ahead and answer some of those. Of course, with that, I also have a little draw with me, so you will see throughout this video some progress of my webcomic, and yeah, they'll just be on in the background. I'll be chatting, there'll be music. Yeah, just really a chill draw with me. So you can have this on in the background, you can have this on in front of you on your phone, all of the above. And I just hope that it's a cool time that I can yap on camera and just hang out and talk about some of the things that we like. All right, so let's get started. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up some of the questions. So this first question is from YouTube comments. This is something that I have seen pop up a few times, so I'm gonna start with the question, and that is, what were your inspiration for creating your comic? So my comic, Space Ultima, for those of you who do not know, is a webcomic that I have on WEBTOON's platform and also an app called Inkverse. So definitely, if you're on either of those apps, you'll be able to find them. And my inspiration for creating Space Ultima is kind of from a low point in my life. And I don't mean necessarily something so, you know, dark, but it was a time where I was kind of questioning, you know, where do I go from here? You know, all those questions, and every now and then we get kind of, you know, bogged down by like, what's going on? What am I doing? Type thing. And I was increasingly losing enthusiasm for my previous job. And I was just like, I just don't know what opportunities exist. I don't know what's going on. So that's kind of where the idea came from. And honestly, my comic, it wasn't even supposed to be a comic to begin with, funny enough. My comic was initially a short story, and it was a short story that I came up with where this main character was like this disgruntled employee working at a convenience store who, during her night shift, just kind of interacts with this mysterious stranger who you can tell he's from another planet, another world, but she's just so, you know, annoyed by her life that she doesn't even pay attention to it. And from there, the convenience store where she's working at becomes kind of a battleground for this like intergalactic fight between that guy and this, you know, alien creature. After that goes down, she is actually kind of wrapped into the battle, and she ends up kind of, you know, uncovering that she, you know, this is adventure, this is excitement, and at the end of the short story, she ends up going outer space with this dude she's like, listen, whatever you're doing, I want to be a part of it. Take me away. Please beam me up. So that is pretty much where I had it stop. And once I kept thinking about it, I started coming up with like, okay, but what's her backstory? What's his backstory? Where is he coming from? And I just started like kind of creating these like yarn strings to other areas. And then I kind of applied it to my life where I was like, well, you know, I feel kind of like that convenience store worker where like, I don't want to be doing this forever. And then of course, you know, take that story a little bit further. How did she get there? And why isn't she doing something else? So it's funny because if you have read Space Ultima, you'll notice that the scene I just described is literally the scene in one of my episodes verbatim. And that is kind of funny because that scene in the episode I have had in my brain since like the very beginning. That's like the one that started it all. So I knew I had to have that in the comic itself. Now, in terms of what inspired me to create this comic to begin with, that's kind of the flip side of it, where I was really, you know, I didn't know where like my art was taking me necessarily. I have and had inspirations of like, you know, being a part of a bigger project, and I was, you know, drawing things, posting fan art, and it would get like a couple of likes, but I never really thought my creation per se was really being shared. My creative, my artist voice wasn't really getting shared. So I always liked storytelling. I went to school, well, my major is in art, but then also I minored in like television, film, communications. I've always loved film. I've always loved movies. And so because of that, I knew that I wanted to write something and I wanted to draw something. And what are those two things that combine create? Comics, right? So something that I knew I could do at this very moment, create right now, were comics. And so, you know, you've got your digital, your traditional route. And I know for me right now, I have a lot of ideas in the future, and I think there's some questions about that. But I have ideas in the future of where I want to take my comic. So we will see, but I knew something that could be accomplished at this moment in time was a comic. So that's what inspired it. The long story, not short of it. Hi, you wanna come hang out? But you gotta sit down with mama. You gotta have a seat. You gotta have a seat. Okay, you wanna help me find the next question? Okay, what's the next question? It says, question 2, what are some of your favorite shows of all time? What type of music do you like? So my favorite shows of all time, oh my gosh, it's kind of interesting. I am so bad at those questions where it's like, what's your top 5 movies? What's your, deserted island movies? And I'm like, I just freeze because I like so many, but I can try my best to narrow it down today. So in terms of past shows, I would have to say shows that really come to mind is Cowboy Bebop. I feel like if you've seen my videos on social media or whatever, I feel like I talk about that show a lot, but I just find that the world building, the way, the behind the scenes of the show, stylistically, how it looks, what areas that show revolutionized, those are the areas that I'm like, wow, like they really, no, don't do that. They really did a great job pulling that whole thing together, and just the world that you get wrapped up into is so fascinating to me. So I am definitely the type who I can put that show on in the background and just, have it as background noise. And then if I like sit down and take a look at it, I'm like, oh, wow, I remember this scene. I remember how it made me feel. So that's probably one of the top ones. Another show that I really enjoyed that I got pretty wrapped up into was Gravity Falls. Oh my goodness. The time that Gravity Falls came out, that is a time that cannot be replicated. I've always enjoyed very quirky, mysterious things. The idea, maybe not conspiracies in the real life sense, but just the fact that there can be a mystery, a conspiracy of some kind, and it's fooling everybody around you is so interesting. I thought that the first season of Gravity Falls was very well told because it kind of sets the baseline for the show that it turned into, because the first season you're like, okay, just some funny, mysterious hijinks, but then the way that they start planting these seeds as time goes on is very interesting, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. In shows that I've seen like recently, I would also say that Jujutsu Kaisen, that has been kind of an unexpected hit for me. I watched the first season, I really enjoyed it. I didn't say that I was like blown away, but I was like a fan. And then season 2 came out, and listen, you can't have a favorite show if it's not gonna cause you some level of trauma, in my opinion. Oh my gosh, especially that first half of the season with Geto and Gojo, it was, I was devastated to say the least, but that has definitely become a pretty big show that has been intriguing in my eyes. Another show that has recently come out, and listen, as of right now, it is April 13th, 2024. So at the time that you're watching this, the show, the Fallout TV series has come out. And this may age well, this may not age well, but I am still off the heels of that show. And I have to say, oh my goodness, here's the thing. Okay. Let me take a sip before I start yapping. So here's the thing. Fallout is one of my favorite video games of all time. You didn't ask that question, but I'm answering it. So with that being one of my favorite video games of all time, it was very important to me that the show do it justice. And if we're talking about, a show looking like its source material, giving the feeling of its source material, the show hit the nail on the head. But it's one step further for like the writing to actually be good. So that's probably why I am currently still reeling from that. I'm probably gonna give it a second watch just so I can have a more, let's say, critical eye. But in terms of my first watch through, I was like glued to the TV. I think I watched the first 2 episodes, and then I had to go to bed to get up on time. Come the next day, I was like, we're watching this from beginning to end. And most people, I think, have tried to hold off on binging it, but most have not succeeded, and I am included in that. And then the second part to that question was, what type of music do you like? In terms of music, that's another hard question for me because it is purely based on how I'm feeling. Like, just before recording this, I was listening to, city pop, Japanese city pop music. I like that type of music because it just makes me feel like, I'm in an anime world or something goofy like that. I will listen to pretty much most music, honestly. Like I said, it has more to do with what I'm feeling. So in terms of how I'm feeling, like if I'm in a creative mood or a writing mood, I will typically, I will listen to albums and songs and playlists that kind of make it into like an original soundtracks, like an OST. So I'll give you an example. When I'm like gearing up to write some of Space Ultima, I'll end up putting on music in a playlist that I feel is either a song that describes a character or a song that describes a situation or whatnot. So typically I will have music that kind of sets the scene, sets the world. I don't know, like I said, that's kind of, I've always been the type of person to be self-conscious of my music, mostly because it is very, it's kind of gives you whiplash in some cases. And then I like listening to like stuff that comes out now. I think a lot of the music choices that I've discovered have ended up coming from TikTok, which says a lot about the world today. So, and then question number 3, is it possible to make fan art of your comic? Would that be okay? And I answered this on the person's response, but 100%, I actually might end up putting out a draw this in your style of my characters soon to come. So, but yeah, I think that having fan art, I see it as a compliment for sure. So I will very much look forward to seeing that if any of you post some of the artwork. Alright, so here's one of the questions from Instagram, and it is, what inspired you to become an artist? It's kind of one of those, it's a long story, but there's kind of different versions of that. So I would say the part 1 is that I've really always been drawing. As early as I can remember, my dad, who's also an artist, he would be, sitting on the couch drawing in his sketchbooks, notebooks, whatever, and then I would be, seeing what he's doing. And of course, most kids like to draw, you have your crayons, your pencils and stuff. So I would be right beside him, drawing and sketching as well. But I just found that I was constantly drawing and I was constantly trying to get better. Then I got into elementary school, and that was the time where I started actually writing and creating my own comics. So I would have like my little composition notebooks, and I would be drawing boxes, drawing panels, and then, drawing my characters, adding speech bubbles, all that stuff. I would say that I was doing that from as early as I can remember. So I'm pretty sure I have a few notebooks around that have my stories in it from a very young age. So as time went on, like I said, I was always drawing constantly. I kind of stopped because I just didn't see being an artist as a thing that I could be, and I found it kind of interesting. I was starting to focus on other aspirations. Of course, I was still in art class, I was still drawing, but I was doing so much more casually, I guess. So fast forward to graduating high school, And then I started college freshman year, and I was like, you know, they always ask you what you want your major to be. And so I initially wanted to be a communications major. Now, communications, as you may know, is, you know, media, television, any communications, writing, things like that. And like I mentioned earlier, I was always interested in filmmaking. So honestly, I was 100% in. And I wish I knew. I don't even know what happened, but I was like, I thought to myself, I think it was like probably still freshman year, my first semester. I don't even remember exactly why. I wish I knew, but I decided, I was like, no, I want to major in art. I wanted to major in art. I wanted to get my bachelor's in art, and then I'll still do my communications minor. To this day, I can't even remember why I chose to switch, but am I better for it? Sure. But that's, I think, when I actually started to want to be an artist again. It was not something anymore that was like just a hobby, but something that I decided, oh no, like I want to do this. I want to do this, you know, full stop. So yeah, it was interesting that way. So then college came and went, and I felt like I wanted to continue to do my art. And I want to say in the last 2-3 years isn't until those 2-3 years that I decided to get even more serious about it. So it's taken a long time for me to get to this spot where I'm at, to really make this my passion. I don't want to say career just yet, but make it my passion. So yeah, that's what inspired me. I would say inspiration wise, like I said, I've always been creating. I've always been coming up with, you know, creative ideas, and it's like something that you can't stop doing, really. All right, so this is from the DMs. What is one advice you would give your younger self? So my younger self, I'm actually going to specify maybe my college era self. Okay, in general, the biggest piece of advice that I would give myself, my younger self, and my current self, to be quite honest, I have to remind myself of this often, is to do it afraid. Do it afraid. I feel like a lot of times, so it's a balance, you know? A lot of times we will not want to do something because maybe it scares us, or the other times we don't do something because we don't think that we're prepared, we don't think that we're ready, you know. I think about when I decided to get back to doing my YouTube videos, I wanted, you know, the camera, I wanted the lighting and things like that. But at the same time, if I were to spend all that money to do it, you know, then it's one of those things where it's like I started with my camera. I started with the tools that I did have. And, you know, I've got my microphones and my lights. Like I said, I've always been into video making, so I just had those things at my disposal. But even if I didn't, you know, something like as cheap as a lamp or something like that in my phone, depending on, you know, if you have a phone that you feel is a good enough quality, you know, something so elementary like that shouldn't stop you, because if you really think about it, content quality across the entire internet, it varies. I even think about TikTok. People are making the most simple videos, and those videos are entertaining, and they're getting like 1 million likes plus. But they didn't use a high professional camera, or maybe even a camera at all. They probably just used their iPhone. So I just think about that, and I think about, you know, the times that I held back, the other piece of advice I would give myself is to talk to that person. I don't know how many times, and this is me personally, I've had, you know, a lot of opportunities, but I decided to lean on this identity that I was an introvert, which, don't get me wrong, you guys see me at my 100% energy, but I would say I'm a little bit, I'm an extroverted introvert, if that makes sense. So for me, I do get shy, I do get in my head, especially when it comes down to social situations. But there have been times where I have kicked myself because I didn't decide to go talk to that person or befriend somebody or whatnot. And, you know, that when you think about it, that's marketing 101. Now, I'm not saying to, you know, only reach out to people just for your advantage alone. Like, definitely not saying that. But you never know who that person is, who you are deciding to talk to, who you are deciding to befriend. You know, when you think about it, you could meet somebody purely on the basis of getting to know them. And then, you know, 5 years down the line, they're like, hey, wasn't that so-and-so, weren't they an artist? I wonder if they'd be interested in this opportunity. And then they reach out to you and, you know, something really cool and special happens. So I would say, you know, do it afraid and don't be afraid to talk to that person. Don't be afraid to speak to those people, whoever they might be. Where or what do you see yourself doing 5 years from now? Honestly, I can barely figure out what I'm gonna do, like, next month. Speaking from a person who has a lot of planning to do, there's a lot going on in May. But honestly, if I were just to, like, very generally think about, you know, what options there are out there, I would probably say, and let's just say, let's take this time to, like, just manifest this and speak it out there. I would honestly say I want Space Ultima to reach even more people. I feel like Space Ultima would probably be wrapped up by then. That being said, maybe Space Ultima would be taking shape in some other medium, you know, maybe it would take form in some type of motion media, you know, that would be cool. I would very much be interested and excited in that. Then also probably doing a new story of some kind, and what that would look like, I don't really know. But I know in terms of life too, I would be very excited to have traveled a lot more in 5 years. I've mentioned many times that I'm very interested in going and traveling to Japan. So hopefully in the next 5 years I will be doing that. But yeah, that's kind of all I can surmise at the moment. Alright, so this next question is, what medium do you enjoy working in? And what's the most challenging style of art for you? Okay, cool. So, I would say I do enjoy working in the digital medium a lot. But I would also say that I just like something about, you know, pen and ink. Like, I like that kind of graphic style. If you think about, like, manga panels, especially being primarily in black and white, there's just something that's so cool about how two colors, black and white, can make some really dynamic images. So I've always been very interested in inking, in like pen type of style. I think before I started using and embracing digital more, I was, and then what's the most challenging style of art for you? I'm gonna be honest, it's been a very long time since I've done anything realistic. I would say, you know, in your typical art school, you're probably doing a lot of, you know, drawing of figures, drawing of models, still life, things like that. And I can understand the reason for it. You know, you have to kind of add to your, you know, memory drive all of these ways of like rendering and drawing things. So it does make sense to do that. But I'm gonna be honest, I haven't really approached drawing anything realistic in a very long time, but I'm not opposed to doing it. They do have both in person and digitally figure drawing workshops where, you know, they've got the model and you can go and, you know, draw what you see in front of you. So I'd be interested in doing something like that. I think that'd be pretty cool. And what character would be your best friend if they were real? So I feel like I have tried to create the goofiest cast of side characters in my webcomic, especially for Sophie. You know, she was not out socializing back on Earth, so it's kind of interesting. Now she has this found family who is continuing to become more found family in her life. So I feel like I would probably be really close friends with Gruss. So Gruss has only been introduced recently in Space Ultima, but how I envision his character, he is, you know, goofy, flamboyant, and he always wants to pull the best out of people. So that being said, I think I would probably like to surround myself with someone like Gruss for sure, because he is, you know, he is that friend who is the cheerleader. You know, he's gonna be like, girl, we are going out, okay? You have been rotting all day. We need to get some sunlight. That's definitely the type of character he reminds me of. All right, and for the last question on this video, what would you say about the places and opportunities that you've had in life? I have had a lot of cool opportunities in life. I definitely feel like in my life, my experiences, whether they have been good or bad, and that's not to say, you know, that there aren't things in people's life that are like really bad. I feel like I have tried to take the best out of different things in hindsight. But in terms of the opportunities I've had, I am very grateful for them. You know, an upcoming opportunity I have is going to be my ability to speak at MomoCon. So that's kind of wild. And, you know, it's crazy because, you know, whether it's inspiration for my story or, you know, the type of content that I make, all of those experiences have like kind of led me to this point and have led me to create the types of content. Like, you know, with my webcomic, I took my life experiences, I took, you know, what I was going through and kind of put it into a blender and then kind of poured out, you know, a story that I find is interesting, but at the same time, it's a story that hopefully is something that can resonate with a bunch of people, no matter who they are. Just because this is a, you know, sci-fi adventure doesn't mean you can't include some very important, you know, lessons and important things that we all go through in life. So yeah, I definitely am super grateful for all the opportunities that I've had, and I hope that I have more opportunities in the future as well. But yeah, that has been some questions and answers for you to get to know me a little bit more. Hopefully something that I've mentioned in my video has maybe inspired you, or it's just kind of made your day. Maybe it was entertaining too. Like I mentioned at the top of the video, I will be vlogging my con experiences in the upcoming month or so stay tuned for that. I'm continuing to make work on my webcomic Space Ultima, so hopefully if I've mentioned some things that have struck your curiosity, definitely check it out, give it a like, subscribe. It is going to be on WEBTOON and on Inkverse. Both of those are apps available to download, and the description is where you can find links to my comic down there. Just a note about my webcomic, you know, is something that is a labor of love for sure. It's the most time-consuming hobby. Most of you know that, you know, when you're doing this, you're not really making money from it, you know, and it takes a lot of time to create. So anybody who, you know, subscribes to my comic, I am eternally grateful, and I hope that you enjoy the story that I'm telling. So if you are interested in keeping up with all of that, you can also find me on social media. Artsume_Shae is where you can find me on Instagram, and also Space Ultima has its own dedicated Instagram that you can follow on there. Yes, all of my socials, all of the ways to stay connected with me are going to be in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you are interested with keeping up with that. And if you have reached the end of the video, definitely comment down below some ideas for future videos. You know, there's definitely different areas to webcomic creation. You know, there's the writing area, the storyboarding area, all those different areas. So if you're interested in upcoming videos, then definitely suggest some down below. But with that, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!